My name's Joel Pelletier. I live in Los Angeles. Over the last number of years, it's kind of been a pet peeve and a pet project of mine to keep an eye on and listen to what's been going on with especially the religious right's slow rise to political and economic power in the United States since the 80s. And my basic argument against fundamentalism in any form, because America is all about tolerance, and fundamentalism is all about there's only one right and everybody else is wrong, and that's not American, not in my estimation anyway. So as an artist, I figured I had an ability to put things together visually and to put a big story together that all the researchers that I've worked with to research this could only deal with in words and in different facets. So I created this work to try to warn people that both democracy and freedom of faith, and your choice of any faith and any interpretation you want, is in jeopardy by the money elite on the far right, by the media elite on the far left, by the religious elite in the center, and these are all fundamentalist, extreme, very fringe groups that are very small, but have managed to slowly take over power in the government of the United States and in the media to kind of cover what it is that they're really trying to do. Many of their stated goals are specifically the elimination of democracy, a theocratic government, no minimum wage, no public schools, all the things to me which are anti-American. So this is, everybody's got to do something, and if I want to be relevant as an artist today, I felt I had to do something like this.
Is this a particularly powerful group that you've portrayed here in your painting?
Sure, they're running the country right now. Why aren't they powerful? They won't be quite as powerful as of November 3rd. There is a large group of people up here, up on the podium, that by simply electing John Kerry, who I don't think anyone's the savior, and I certainly don't think he is, by electing John Kerry, you will eliminate not only George Bush, but his entire far-right team in the executive branch of the administration, and that's a start. And all changes happen in increments. Nothing ever changes all at once. So what I'm trying to do is go around the country showing it wasn't enough to do the painting. If people don't see it, it's worthless, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm trying to set up showings across the country where I will actually set it up for an evening and talk about it, and hopefully try to let a few more people know about most of the people on this painting who are fairly stealthy, and we don't hear about them in the mainstream. But all you got to do is go online. You can find out about all of them. That's how I do it.
Can you make some general comments about where we are at this point in history, your perceptions of where we are as a nation at this point in history?
Well, we happen to be, I think, at a very important turning point where a decision, whether we make the decision or not, a decision is going to be made which is going to be irreversible. If this particular power structure continues, all they've been doing, especially for the last 4 years in the administration, is making sure that they secure for the next 20 to 50 years this particular attitude towards government and government and religious organizations and which ones are funded by the government and media and how and what it is permitted or not permitted to broadcast at home. This is a nightmare scenario that says if in 4 years Mr. Bush is reelected, 4 years from now, it can get to so bad that there might be a whole world war and that Armageddon that they've all talked about. A number of folks, even in the administration, have publicly stated that they feel that they need to do everything they can to help for the Armageddon to start, because that means Jesus will be here soon.
Can you explain that to me? We hear that thrown around. I hear that in third place, but what does it really mean?
Well, what it really means, that's what a few of these people on the page, there's one guy up here named John Nelson Darby, who was a preacher from the 1850s in Ireland and England. And he kind of sat down and he looked at a number of different things in the New Testament, including Revelation, and came up with this concept of Armageddon as we know it today. It's strictly an interpretation. It does not exist in this form in the Bible at all. And today when you watch people on TV and certain preachers who say, oh, that's just the way it is, including Tim LaHaye, who wrote the Left Behind books, that's totally untrue. It's an interpretation based on a 19th century preacher in England.
What is it?
Well, it starts off with the rapture. And the rapture is where anyone who is, quote, born again and accepted Jesus already is sucked up into heaven with their whole body. And then at that point, there's going to be wars for the next 7 years where the semi-believers, the people who kind of believed but never totally gave over to Jesus, are going to be fighting the Antichrist and his minions. And the Antichrist will be some political leader that will be running everything very totalitarian style. At the end of that 7 years, according to the way it's interpreted by Darby and now Tim LaHaye and all of these other Armageddonists, Jesus will descend from heaven with a sword and flames coming from his mouth, being followed by all of those believers who were sucked up by the rapture beforehand, each with their own swords. I guess that they don't have M16s in heaven, they only have swords. And they will defeat the Antichrist. And there will be 1,000-year reign on earth of Jesus' kingdom. Now, of course, they interpret America to be the New Jerusalem. They said so when John Winthrop founded it with the Pilgrims, and they've said so many times since. So their feeling is then Jesus would come to Washington in the United States, and he would then hand out fiefdoms or power to the power elite, which happen to be the ones in power now, or want to be. How coincidentally is that? And they will run the earth for 1,000 years. And I don't believe that everybody here buys that, but there are certainly some who do and say that they do, or if they don't, they say it because they're trying to get people's votes who might believe that and haven't thought about it enough to say, if you follow that logically, that ends democracy. There's no democracy in the Bible. That ends freedom of religion. That ends all the things that we take for granted.
Is George Bush an Armageddonist?
He has made some comments commenting about Jesus coming back, but he has definitely stated for the record that he is a born-again fundamentalist Christian, an evangelical born-again fundamentalist Christian. But my feeling is, from times when he is asked, well, what specifically did you study in the Bible at your Bible class this morning, or what is it specifically do you believe, he kind of sidetracks and walks away. And I believe it's not because he doesn't want to say more, it's because he doesn't have the intellectual curiosity or capacity to really get into it. He takes a few rules, and that's enough for him. It makes life simple, and he has publicly stated that he believes God made him president because he wanted him to be. And since God made him president, anything that he does must be right because he's a good man.
What do the words evangelical born-again Christian mean?
It's a particular sect of Protestantism in the United States. Evangelicals.
Can you start that sentence by saying evangelical born-again Christianity is?
All right. Well, evangelical born-again Christianity is a particular sect of Protestantism, which is, I think it's mostly from the 1900s, but it's based on the revivalists of the late 1800s. Evangelical is just someone who wants to turn around and preach to other people. Like, they don't rely on one preacher to turn everybody. They go out and they go out across the world and they try to get everybody to believe in Jesus. There's something about a number of strains of this evangelical Christianity which believe, they have all these little rules. Like, if we can get everyone in the world to hear about Jesus, everybody, every little baby everywhere in every corner of the world, that's our goal, just to get everybody to hear about Jesus, then he'll come. It's like the spell books in witch stories, which to me is just a childish story. It's the idea that you can get a diagram or a direction book which will tell you everything about the universe, and all you got to do is read something, and that's everything. But that's what a lot of this is based on, and this particular strain of evangelical Christianity mixes that fervor for turning everybody on to Jesus with a very fundamentalist view that their one interpretation is the only one permitted, and that they are right, therefore everyone else is wrong. And it's kind of gotten mixed up with a number of people who believe that, who've also gotten an awful lot of money and happen to also be really radical free market libertarian types. So a true Christian government shouldn't have any taxes, shouldn't have a minimum wage, shouldn't have public schools, shouldn't take care of the poor, according to some of these people, from their own words. And that should only be done by the churches. That way you'll be forced to go to their church to hear their way, and then maybe you'll get fed.
How do you feel about Jesus?
I personally have no faith. I have faith in my abilities, but I don't believe I have to say that I can't believe in any of the interpretations I've heard by human beings, because if God is truly the universe, then we could never understand all of what God is. And to claim that we could would be to immediately devalue what the universe truly is.
Can you explain to me what's going on in this parade up here?
Well, this is based on a painting by a Belgian painter named James Ensor. In 1889, he did this painting called Christ's Entry into Brussels in 1889. And it depicted Jesus just like this in the middle, coming down the middle of the main boulevard in Belgium. And all the power elite and all the people of Belgium celebrating, but basically ignoring him. So they were more interested in the fact that they're great because Jesus came, than the fact that Jesus was actually there. It was such an insult to Belgium that it was entered into a competition, rejected, and never shown in Belgium during his life. It was also considered very ugly because he was making fun of French Impressionists, and they didn't like that. So when I saw this at the Getty Museum in Los Angeles about 9 years ago, where it's today, I loved the painting because I loved the way it looked and some of the things it was trying to say. Because here's an artist that was really trying to say something, even if it upset people. He felt it needed to be said. And I thought that could be updated to today and be even more relevant. So I placed it in Washington in 2008. Because the evangelical born-again Christians that we are talking about honestly believe that this is the New Jerusalem. That they are now the chosen people, not the Jews. And that Jesus will come to America, not to Jerusalem. So in this scenario, Jesus is coming to Washington at the end of the Armageddon.
How has this particular community used the event of September 11th?
Oh, well,
how have they sought to portray that particular event?
Well, they're using that to further the fundamentalist concept of there's good and there's evil. We're good and these people are evil. And when you're evil, then you're not human. You can do anything you want to the devil. It doesn't matter. And I think that they have used that to further their position and to further their cause. And they're obviously, and I'm not claiming the Republican Party is all this, but the people who are at the top of the Republican Party either believe this or they cater to it because they believe that will get them enough votes to win. I've heard tactically that they've done the math, and there are 4 million evangelical fundamentalist Christians who did not vote in 2000. And their only shot at winning is to get every one of them to vote. So they're pushing every religious button they possibly can in government. George Bush talks about Jesus all the time. Presidents don't do this. Presidents are presidents for everyone, even people who don't believe in Jesus. Presidents should be the presidents for all Jews, all Muslims, and all atheists in America, as long as they're Americans. And this president seems to be just the president for Christians, and more specifically for born-again evangelical Protestants. And that, to me, is an insult to what this government and what this country should be.
Can you tell me your name and email or how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, my name is Joel Pelletier. The website for this painting is AmericanFundamentalists.com. My website, because I'm also a musician and I do a lot of things, is joelp.com, and my email is joelp@joelp.com.